whenever the kelp
got the lovely, nice kelp pointed out. This is a real dive site just across the way at Catalina called Blue Cavern. And it looks really similar to this. You've got the lovely, nice kelp stalks, and you've got a cavern that disappears into the back that's got tons of wonderful pink anemones and lots of fish, like the blacksmith that are swimming right in front of me here. If you've never been to Catalina, I highly recommend it. Even if you're just going to snorkel, it is a beautiful place.
Absolutely, absolutely. Who here has had the opportunity to go to Catalina Island right here off of our coast? Yeah, it's a really fantastic spot. And it's a really special type of area. It's kind of like our national parks on land but underwater. It's an MPA. Do you want to explain what that means to our folks here who maybe aren't familiar with it?
Sure. Marine Protected Area, or MPA, is a no-take zone, so you can't fish. And unfortunately, what happens when the area isn't a marine protected area is all of the fish get eaten. And the urchins can overpopulate because the fish would have eaten the urchins. And then the urchins eat all of the kelp because that's their natural food source. But then once all the kelp is gone, the entire ecosystem collapses.
Yes, absolutely. And that's because the animals that live in the kelp forest have an important role to play, just like our cities on land. And when they all work together, things go smoothly. But if pieces of that is taken out, then unfortunately the environment can collapse. Now, luckily for the kelp forest, it is a super biodiverse habitat, meaning that a bunch of different species call it home, so that in the face of change, it is more resilient than some of our other habitats. And that's thanks to animals like our leopard sharks and our rays. Now, you've got some leopard sharks over your head, to your right and left-hand side, all around, truly. Now, that's kind of what it's like if you go out to places like La Jolla right now, because the leopard sharks are migrating. Are you familiar with that?
I am. I was lucky enough to go recently and see these beautiful guys in their natural habitat.
Yeah, and they are really awesome animals. They're going to be a shark that doesn't get more than about 5 feet, and they're going to have a very, very long and populous migration. They migrate by the hundreds or the thousands, and any of us can just go out to beaches in San Diego and go and swim with them. They're a really awesome and friendly shark, and it's definitely a cool experience that I recommend. Now, they have a different shape, though, than some of our other sharks, and our guests are getting a really good look at that flat bottom body. What do they use that for? Is it on purpose that they're built like that?
It is, and they have a special sense organ that we don't have. On the very tips of their nose, they have the ability to detect electrical currents. So they run their nose around the bottom and feel for anything living and can scoop it up.
Yeah, and that specialized sensory organ has a really funny name called the ampullae de Lorenzini. And essentially what that organ is a set of gelatinous-filled pores that cover the nose and the body of the shark. And those organs that work together allow the shark to sense that pulse. And all of us also are going to be emitting a pulse, like most living creatures. Does anybody know what pulse I could be talking about? Shout it out. Your heartbeat. I had one friend shout, and you'd be correct. Your heartbeat is what these animals are picking up on. So what do they eat then if their prey is in the sand?
Well, they eat pretty much anything they can get a hold of, but clams and squid and shrimp and fish and anything that is maybe separated from the rest of the group.
Yeah, definitely not going to be large prey items, though. Nothing probably bigger than these blacksmiths who are schooling around them right now. That was a really great look at schooling behavior. Do you know why fish happen to do that schooling behavior?
Well, because there's safety in numbers. And there's a trick to this. Pick one of the fish and try to follow it and see how long you can keep track of your fish. Have you lost it yet? I lost mine.
Yeah, that is a really, really great way to see how a predator would be looking at these fish. But you might be wondering, as you direct your focus towards them, how they are able to so quickly turn together and how they stay grouped up like that. Well, they have a special adaptation as well called a lateral line, and it's like the ampullae de Lorenzini, but it's across the fish's body, which allows them to sense movement in the water. So as one of the fish move, the rest of them are able to move in uniform. So that is a really really cool adaptation that they have that kind of reminds me of a shark. Now, there's one animal in particular that we have not talked about yet, and they're going to be coming over here to your right-hand side because the other one just stopped going to the left. Now, whenever I talk about them, they get awful shy, but out in their natural habitat, they are pretty friendly, are they not?
They are. They are large and they are curious. And if you ever get a chance to go to Catalina, there's a good chance that you'll see one. The giant black sea bass.
Yeah, these giant sea bass or black sea bass, oftentimes these names are used interchangeably, are a fish that is one of the largest predators in kelp forest habitats right here in Southern California. So they are a fish that oftentimes would not have any other predators, which made them a target for fishing, specifically spear fishermen. And that large body and confident personality made them quite friendly, going up to divers or spear fishermen and not seeing the need to go away. So unfortunately, their population had some issues around the 60s, but in the 80s, there were some protections put. So give me a little bit of your story of your experience with sea bass out in their natural habitat.
So here he is right here. Look at how big this fish is. It's a gorgeous animal. And I have been fortunate enough again here's the other one here. There's 3 in this exhibit.
Yeah, ignore this fish. This is not he thinks he's a giant sea bass.
Like I was saying, in the blue cavern, I was lucky enough to come up to 2 or 3 of them, and they were about this size. And like these fish in this exhibit, they're super curious, and they'll swim right up to you and just stop and look at you like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, it is really cool, and they're definitely a fish that when you started diving was not as populous as when you go diving today. And do you want to share with our guests the reason why?
So that's correct, and that's another success story of marine protected areas, is these guys are, unfortunately for them, really easy to hunt. And if they're not allowed to be taken, and they're given a chance to get to maturity, we can see that their numbers are coming back.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you all, if you're a diver or someone who just wants to visit a marine protected area, have the opportunity to see the giant sea bass. Now here at the aquarium, we are actively participating in giant sea bass conservation a variety of ways, whether it be monitoring, rearing, or release. And we actually have one of the animals that is a part of those conservation efforts as you exit to the gallery at Casino Point. So in that exhibit, right next door to Blue Cavern, a baby giant sea bass named Utaka, which they're not really a baby anymore, they're probably about almost 9 years old, is living there. Now what's interesting about giant sea bass is they are just like people. They don't start reproducing until later in life, around 9 to 11 years of age. And then after that, they live a lifespan of nearly 70 years. But when they give birth to their babies, even though they give birth to hundreds, if not thousands at a time, their babies are really microscopic, which makes survival for them very, very low. And to survive to past 12 years is a very, very long time for a fish. So we definitely here at the aquarium are able to give these animals a head start by rearing them here and then releasing them out into the ocean. But there's so many different ways that you can get involved in conservation here at the aquarium, and how we're here at the aquarium we're getting involved in conservation. What are some of the ways that you've got to get involved in conservation here at the aquarium besides visiting MPAs?
Well, conservation is something that we can all take part in. And it's quite easy. You can avoid things like single-use plastics, forever chemicals, reduce your use of fossil fuels like gasoline, and if you can, use electric instead.
Absolutely, and I really like all of those ways because all of those ways contribute to reducing carbon emissions in our atmosphere. When carbon emissions are in our atmosphere, they can cause global temperature change, and that temperature change will affect environments like the coral reef. As we discussed, the coral reef is very diverse, and like our diverse communities on land, in the face of change, it is more resilient. But it is important that we do everything we can so that this environment doesn't change, so that all the animals, the over 1,000 different species that call the kelp forest home, can continue to live right in our ocean backyard comfortably, hopefully, for years to come. So that is a great tip from our diver, and we can share this information with our friends, our family, and our community so that hopefully we can all work together to making a better ocean and keeping our ocean backyard nice and clean. Is there anything else you want to share with our guests? And I have to ask if you'll have some extra time to get personal and say hello to them, right?
I would love to take some selfies with anyone if they want to.
Yes, definitely. So our divers and I will be hanging around for a few more minutes to answer any questions you have and to grab those pictures. But my friends, I wanted to really thank you for coming to the Aquarium of the Pacific today. The Aquarium is a non-profit organization, so all of your contributions, whether that be your ticket, your membership, or any purchases you make, go directly back to the care of the awesome animals that helped us learn so much, but also back to those conservation efforts. So my friends, thank you so much again for coming. Please enjoy the new frogs exhibit and come and join us if you have any questions. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Hello. Hi.